She's one of the most well-known women in Papua New Guinea, and her name's Dame Carol Kidu, right now the only woman in the country's 109-member parliament. As social advocate and politician, Dame Carol's worked tirelessly to improve people's lives.
Job to try to make things better in our community. These salos should be going to the people like the teachers. Wait a hand. To our community leaders here, come forward. They're the ones who should be getting the salos. Only Moresby South. But big national government is not funding these things yet, and that's what I'm trying to do, to try to get national government to start funding mobile learning units. When I knew I had an opportunity to be a minister, people thought I would be looking at the education ministry. I said, no, I'm not interested. I want to go to community development because it's the one that deals with the women, the youth, the disabled, and generally the marginalised.
Dame Carol traces this commitment to development to her upbringing.
I came from a lower middle class Australian family. We were not poor, but we were not rich. You know, Mum and Dad they struggled to get us educated. They had a great compassion for others. So they set an environment I grew up in that developed a social conscience in me.
What brought you to Papua New Guinea?
Love. I fell in love when I was sweet 16 and never been kissed. I was grade 11 in high school, and I met a young man who was on a colonial scholarship at Toowoomba Grammar.
The young man was Buri Kidu, who was to become Sir Buri, the first Papua New Guinean Chief Justice.
We married when we were in university.
And how was it?
Hard. Yeah, no other word for it. It was hard.
I take pride in the fact that our judiciary is probably one of the most independent judiciaries in the world.
He was a romantic, but not a romantic. He was very pragmatic. And he said to me, Carol, if we're going to marry, because I pushed the issue, don't ask me to choose between you and my people, because I'll choose my people. So I came knowing that. I had to make some adjustments. I feel very privileged. I feel very enriched for have made the effort to live deeply in another culture and learn from it.
In 1994, Sir Buri Kidu died.
Papua New Guinea lost a very great man when they lost him, when he died of a heart attack.
A few years later, Dame Carol entered politics and was elected member for Port Moresby South, the family constituency. What made you decide to enter politics?
I was angry. I was angry about the politics at the time. I was idealistic. I thought I might be able to make a difference. People at the time thought I was mad. They thought, a white woman, she's crazy, she can never win. But I knew I would win. I was sure I would, because I was deeply entrenched in my husband's culture. I spent a lot of time in those couple of years after his death, visiting into settlements, getting to know people, and I was actually confident that I would win. And ever since then, I've based every single election on the most important thing of Papua New Guinea, relationships.
As Minister for Community Development, Dame Carol's priority is creating opportunities for the disadvantaged.
This is the ministry I wanted, because I wanted to work on the concepts of alternate pathways to knowledge, skills and learning. At present, until more recently, and even now still, to get up the higher ladder of education, you have to sit in a classroom for 8 years. There's not enough classrooms for all our children. What we're doing now is we're just overcrowding our classrooms, things like that.
Little cats, open them, shut them, open them, shut them, lay them on your lap.
Across Papua New Guinea, thousands of communities have set up their own informal learning centres in response to the classroom shortages. Dame Carol believes this informal sector is critical to achieving universal education for all.
Ooh, very good. I would like to see in the end a community education certificate that is equivalent to a basic education certificate that can take you up the ladder. We have now got the integrated community development policy, which works on developing the idea of community learning centres, which will link with the community colleges and the vocational centres of the formal system. Here we have a community that has worked with the ideas and has taken it on, even though the majority of people in this community are not employed for any formal income. We had people here, some are not present, Dorothy, Evelyn and Gia. They've been trained in a short training course on how to run a small community preschool, to start our children at a very young age.
And this is where all the teachers are really important to all of this.
The teachers are critical. I'm irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. I'm not important in this at all. I organise the training for the teachers, and we have some trainers that are part of my staff, and they train them, but without them this won't happen.
And if these children didn't come to these centres, they wouldn't have a chance to go to formal education?
Very unlikely, many of them, and many of them will still not go, probably, because of school fees and things. I know that, you know, I'm leaving politics. I worry about the sustainability of what I've been doing and how these people will manage when they can't come to my office. And so we linked in with the corporate sector here.
The people of the settlement also have their own plans.
When I talk to them, they listen.
Yeah. And they like being scratched behind the ear.
Yeah, of course.
The community now has gone to the stage of income generating projects to help sustain the project. Because it is very hard when people have no income. If the donor money finishes or the assistance from the member finishes, it's very hard to keep things going. You end up with no pencils, no paper, nothing at all. And so you've got to be realistic. And there are income generating projects that actually help to buy the little T-shirts for the children and things like that. So out of these two breeders, hopefully they will
this is the female and this the male here. And we intend to breed them. And
they're less costly to raise than chickens. Chickens, the feed costs far too much for them.
Yes.
And it's very difficult. The pigs, they can eat all the scraps from their household. And then the pigs are, of course, being a much higher price. Okay, let's go.
In 2012, Dame Carol Kidu will retire from politics after 3 terms as the only woman in the country's parliament.
I think it's very sad. It's better than when we had none for 10 years, but it is very, very sad, and it's just not good enough, and that's why I'm very worried about my retirement.
Are people fearful of more women entering politics?
I don't know what's driving the male attitude in Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parties tend not to want to endorse women because they know that women don't win against men in Papua New Guinea. I thank Honourable Member for Ambunti Drakikir for his questions.
How did you get this far? How did you stay in there?
My circumstances of going into politics were quite unique. I was the widow of a very prominent man. It helped me in that first election. It helped me get over the threshold in that first election, and then I've worked extremely hard to stay there. But Papua New Guinean women, they often don't have that first thing to help them through the barrier. And some people even say, oh, it's all right for you to be here, we don't want our own women here. I mean, terrible thinking. Terrible thinking.
Dame Carol has a simple reason for leaving politics.
I want my life back, and to be frank, I think I can contribute more from outside than inside. I wanted to tackle certain things. If I've done that, I can be more use outside, helping on implementation from an NGO perspective or something. Rotary have a project called Tales from a Dilly Bag, and of course in this library before we had a project called Bag of Books Project, and it's the same type of idea. So that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
The things I'm most proud of is where I see people who've forgotten where their transformation started, and they don't attribute it to me anymore. They now know that they have taken on the ownership of it. And that's, I think, what's most pleasing.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter, and I'll see you next time on Pacific Pulse.